Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. I'm Lindsay. I am a health, wellness, mindset coach, mixed in spirituality, and I'm a motivator, baby. I'm a motivator. So that's what I hear from most people who listen, who are tuning in. They're like, I listen and I get motivated to do whatever it is. So here I am serving you your daily dose of motivation. Okay. So we are in an 8-week series. Integrate is an 8-week one-on-one coaching container that I do with my clients. Initially, the offer was to help professionals build careers they love. But in reality, anyone who's been in the coaching space knows that that sort of applies to everything. The way I usually handle week 5 is we're dead smack in the middle, and I title week 5 like rounding second, so to speak, and defining your progress and aligning your goals. We spent a lot of time over the first 4 episodes really getting into how we want to feel. Whether, it's for self-care, whether it's for your mindset, how you dress. We really want to tap into those feelings so that we can be authentic in what we're doing. But for this episode, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach because I don't have you one-on-one. I'm going to come at this from a mental health perspective. I just want to give a shout out to my peoples in the Bronx because you guys are my number one demographic. And I think when it comes to the boroughs, we have a lot of people in New York that don't necessarily get the mental health care that they need. Whether it's a stigmatized viewpoint of mental health or it's that doesn't, we don't have time for that. We don't have the access and support for that. So this episode, I'm going to give you sort of from a mental health perspective, how we are going to anchor in to midway of our coaching program. So have you ever wondered, how are there super high functioning people who have mental illness? Like I remember that guy, Mark Summers from Double Dare. He was I heard that my mom said, half of the things my mom says is true and then half of them are not. But she said that he had OCD and he would count the threads in the carpet. Okay. So when you're in a place where you're so disheveled and so out of control that you feel the need to, for example, count the little threads in the carpet. In this episode, I'm going to share how to create your safety net. And by the end of the episode, you'll know exactly how to execute your goals without burning out. So I'm going to just tell a quick story about my experience with burning out mentally in a professional setting. This is not the first time this has happened. That's why I feel I am equipped to speak about this topic. I think we get a lot of advice from mental health professionals that maybe haven't been through the thick of it. So I'm here to say I've been through the thick of it. I know what it's like. And I've also have the resources that a lot of mental health professionals will give you. So when I first got hired at Starbucks, it was 2013. I was 31 years old and it was a big job for me. It was a really, really big deal for me. After I graduated at NYU, I'm like, I have to be an executive assistant. There are no jobs. I had such low confidence and self-esteem that even with a master's degree from NYU, I'm like, I have to be an executive assistant. Meanwhile, I had, the education and the resume. But when I got to Starbucks, I was underqualified. I had mentioned this in previous episodes, and I was creating a lot of mental stress for myself in order to perform. So I was putting a lot of pressure on myself in order to make myself feel like, I guess, motivated. I was motivated, but I just felt like I needed that fire. And I don't know, within a few months of starting, I burnt out. I had a manic episode. I remember walking to work. The weather was like just starting to get cooler. It was like late October. And I went into the office. I hopped on a call, which I completely botched to the point where my colleague who I was shadowing, because I had just started, so I was like shadowing all these deals, was like, Linz, shut up on the phone, because he didn't know what was going on. And listen, I can go through all the gruesome details of what a manic episode looks like, but I'm not going to because that's not the purpose of this episode. I'll most likely write that in my book. I think that when we go through an episode, and whatever that looks like to you, whether it's mania, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, it looks different for everybody. But what ends up happening is that it is very difficult to, listen, being grounded is just not an option. You're not able to be grounded. It is the opposite of being grounded. It is like you're flying somewhere on your own, and that's exactly how you feel. But I would say the biggest lesson I learned through that episode was to keep holding on. I had amazing people around me who reached out. Actually, I want to tell you one really quick story. I got into the office that day. I was flying high, and I sat down in my boss's office and I quit. I quit my job that I was so proud of and so excited. Like, I could cry thinking about that. He sat down, he looked at me, he said, I'm going to give you some time to think about what you're saying. And I think you should go home and just take some time. And I didn't come back to the office for a month. I had to take maybe even 5 weeks off from work. I had just started. Actually, it's like really heartbreaking to even talk about this. It was the pinnacle at that time of my career. I remember the real estate development team was called in with operations to go ring the bell at the stock exchange. And there are pictures of me at NASDAQ behind the bell, and I was having full-blown paranoia. I couldn't function around people. My mind was going a mile a minute. I was paranoid. And it was heartbreaking because it was the pinnacle at that point of my career that I had worked so hard to get to. I had eaten so much shit throughout the years of just being in jobs I didn't want to do, studying things I didn't want to study, being around people that didn't make me feel great. So I tell that to give you a little bit more light as to what was going on, because at that point, people reached out, namely my boss, to help. And I had to pick up that phone every time he called. And that's what I mean by holding on. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know what he was going to say. I just knew I had a lifeline and I needed to pick up the phone. So I did. And I'm forever indebted to my old boss for being almost like a paternal figure to me and helping me through this and being my lifeline. So my lesson was, you keep holding on, you hold on to the people that you can trust, so that even when you don't know and you're not sure how to. So these are the 3 things I want to talk about in this episode. 1 is when you're in a situation where you are having a collapse, a mental breakdown of whatever that looks like. And also, by the way, this applies to physical illness. So say you get diagnosed with something terrible. This applies to that as well. You're going to, number 1, what do I talk about in this 8-week program? Episode number 1, declutter. And declutter means you're going to simplify. You're going to simplify your mind your body, and your soul. You're going to take away everything that doesn't serve you. You're going to look at yourself in a really honest way, and you're going to say, this is what I'm dealing with. This is where I am. You're going to meet yourself where you are at. For me, it looked like getting really honest about, I was having an episode, straight up. And sometimes when you're facing this level of crisis, it is difficult to rely on people or to know who you can trust, but anyone in your life, whether it's your parents, whether it's your best friend, whether it's your cousin, whether it's your boss, you find a couple of people that you can trust and you rely on them. Because a lot of times when you're in a circumstance like this, it doesn't feel like you can trust people. It doesn't feel like they don't understand. They're not going through it. They don't know. But if they have your best interest in heart, they're an objective viewpoint for you to hold on to stay grounded with someone who actually is grounded for you to get through the turbulence. The second thing is I want you to create a safety net. So this is going to look like what's not working, you're taking it out. What is working, you're going to bring it in. You're going to talk to your doctors. You're going to adjust your medication. You're going to stop drinking. You're going to really clean up the physical and know what you have to do to get healthy. And that's when you're going to rely on the people in the first part to really help you identify what that is. Because your safety net is something that you should always have when shit hits the fan, because you have to prepare for shit hitting the fan. And the last step is just executing your plan. So you're going to keep your head down. You're going to go to work. You're going to do whatever you need to do. You're going to do whatever the professionals and your loved ones and your safety net is telling you to do to get everything under control. When I had to go back to the office after taking 4 or 5 weeks off from work, that day I walked back into the office was the biggest performance I had ever put on in my life. I had to pretend that nothing happened. I had to pretend that I was totally fine and I was there to just show up and do the work. I honestly love team sports for this reason, because there's no time to think. You get up to the plate and you swing the bat and you get on base. And that was the same mentality that I had when I got back to work. Get the deals done, get on the calls, push the deals forward, make it happen. And you implement all of the things that, from your support system, from your plan. That's what you do. So this idea, this concept is really the foundation of my 8-week one-on-one program, Integrate. And I want you to think about 3 things when you think about this plan. You're going to think about clarity, consistency, and confidence. If you've been listening, you've heard me say this. This is the framework. This is the groundwork. You need to get clear. You need to get consistent. And you need to get confidence. And I'm going to break them down really quick. You're going to get clear on what's working and what's not working and where you are right now. You're going to get honest. You're going to get so honest that you're going to have to face some ugly decisions. And that's where you lean on your people. So you're going to get clear. You're going to get consistent. So you're going to lean on your people and you're going to learn what tools you have to implement to get to the point where you're healthy, where you're functioning optimally, where you're doing things for yourself that are building you up, not bringing you down. And then finally, you're going to hit the confidence, because when you consistently do the things that are good for you, you build confidence. And listen, guys, it happens again, and you get a little comfortable and you start drinking a little bit more than you should, or you're partying a little more than you should, or you're not sleeping as much, or you're eating whatever it is that throws you off track. You're gossiping too much. You're hanging out with the wrong people. You get thrown off track, and then you have to get back on. And you're getting into the clarity, you're getting into the consistency, and you're building confidence. Whenever you do things that do not build confidence, from an authentic place, typically that's what's going to throw you off of your game. And it's so easy to not do things that builds your own confidence. Like, I'm not going to say it's like so crystal clear. It's not cut and dry. So if you apply this structure and you identify what supports you and what is most important to you, you will have an increased ability to get to the next level of your dreams. And you will stay healthy. And that's it. There's no way around it. A listener once said to me, I don't know why I'm sharing. She wrote me like all this stuff about what's going on in her life and she said, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but like, you know, I'm just following your lead. And you know what? I share all of these nitty-gritty details with you to help, not to air out my shit. I'm literally here out of, number one, not only the kindness of my heart, because I don't know many people. I needed someone to talk to me like this while I was going through these times. But like, these are the important things. This is what's really happening. We don't need more on how to get more Instagram followers or how to get a rock hard bod. We need soulful advice. We need heart-centered inspiration and motivation on how to get through this life, because it can get really ugly. So that's why I'm here. That's why I share everything that I share. I would love, if you are here listening at this point and are going through a hard time, to share with me what you're going through and to share how you're implementing these steps. How are you creating your safety net? Who can you rely on? What does getting better look like to you? And I will respond. You can reach out to me on Instagram or my website, lindsaytramarki.com. So here are the big takeaways from today. You want to own where you are. You want to really take an honest look at yourself and say, this is not working. Like, I need to level out. You want to rely on your network, your safety net. You want to reach out to the professionals that you need to reach out to your loved ones. Make sure everyone's talking. Make sure you have a cohesive network of individuals who are going to be able to support you so that you're not working in a silo. And you're going to know what your plan is. And you're going to prepare, and it's going to be much easier to succeed. So if there's only one thing that you do after this episode, it is prepárate. You want to prepare. You want to prepare your life in a way that supports your needs, not supports your wallet, your family, all the external things. You will support the external things only when you are supporting yourself. It sounds so cliche, but like, we really have to zoom out to zoom in to really understand that dynamic. You will earn more money when you are really tapped into where you are exactly and giving yourself the support and resources that you need. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. If this helped, please share it on social or with someone who needs it. I am passionate about reaching people who need me. Don't forget to subscribe and don't miss next week's episode on relationship dynamics. We will be on week 6 of the 8-week program. I love you. I will talk to you soon. Adios.